Lucia Cossumethod teacher here, our weekly episode, again on perception. And I made the ugly of it, but is it really? Today I want to put the accent on one just point, the point of the difference into a dysfunctional system and a functional system. Being the dysfunctional system, the system in which we have some actions made by other muscles, made by patterns that are not ideal, they can be sufficient, they can be enough, but they are not ideal. And especially they have compensations, or they migrate their request for function into precedent or successive joint or successive segment, and we know that in the time, if not solved or at least contained or reverse the patterns, they will affect all the joints of the body in a ratio, in a quantity that depends on many factors. Why I say that? I say that because it is the greatest point of not comprehension, and especially of not common knowledge now, into not only my beginners students. It is alright, it's correct, it's exactly how it has to be, but especially with professionals, with young professionals, with very experienced professionals. We have some, I am the first putting the accent on the specifics of the functions into the segments of the body, even quite far from the vocal tract, and their action into voice production. This is the center and innovation of my research specific. It's not all my work, but it's where my work has something to say that is not commonly known and is overlooked or even profoundly misunderstood. And it's very difficult to work on since some specifics of our system. I said last time that perceptions tell the truth. Alexander of the Alexander technique, the great pedagogue and innovator, said they lie. They lie according to what is your goal and what you are sometimes certain that it is happening. They tell you how your system translates this goal for himself. What I mean by that? I mean, your system can do some things, seeing how it is built and how you have the fascia, the skeletal muscle system and the ligament system. Trained, untrained, overused, unused, inflamed, not inflamed. There are some gender-specific considerations. They are not really gender, they are just hormonal considerations. They are very important, and for us they are very relevant from a training point of view, from a stylistic point of view, and a skill point of view, meaning how you have to adapt to a certain system and change things. And again, it is my specific, so you will not find a lot of material on that. You will not find so much discussion on that. You will find some research and some movements that are good as the Alexander technique, but they are not that specific. I'm the one getting specific. So the perceptions, what Alexander of the Metal Alexander is saying, I'm certain that I'm doing this action. I look myself in the mirror and I see that I'm doing something else. It has been since the times of Frederick Matthias Alexander. We've made, especially in the last 20 years, some steps into biomechanics really huge and really different. Assessing what? Assessing that it is not so linear, it's not so intuitive, our system. As the same Jerome Hines that I cited last time, in one of his books, is very interesting. He says, and he's not the only one, I said that even without having read him, and we are many saying that since a long time, that our system is a system of opposed forces, opposed functions. I'm getting to the point of saying it in more objective biomechanical terms, and it is a great step because you don't need any more, or my mission is a bit that you don't need any more to get to a certain level of singing to understand what we are talking about, because we are not able to say in more objective terms that you can find in other fields. Even if not perfectly equal, the mechanisms are the same. So Alexander says perceptions lie, I say perceptions say the truth. The truth, what I intend by that, and we are not agreeing. We say exactly the same thing, just that I make a step forward into the times, not into the knowledge. Is a genius, absolutely. If he was on those times, probably would be much in front of me, and I would just be learning from him instead of researching for you and for me and for my clients. What you are performing is exactly the sum of the idea of your system to do something and the translation of your system of this something when it thinks that can be dangerous, not useful, better. You think you have a better idea to do something. All those elements are going to change. Some are going to change by a different order you're doing. I wanted to make it better. So you do something, and as I say very often, it's like if you're on a rope going from one side on the other. The better idea is going right or left, and you go down, because it's a rope. And until you don't understand that it's a rope, the best idea is the one you're doing, because it's bringing you exactly where you can. When you're better, you do more things on the rope, you can have more fun, but you just get into the direction of being better of yourself, still knowing that you have to remain on the rope. The better idea, when it's arrogant, or we call it arrogant, it's not a judgment, it's just, how can I say better than arrogant? It's a little bit of hubris, a little bit of entitlement. You see why? Because you're down, you're not on the rope anymore. Okay? When it is not, you're doing many nice things while you're going on the rope. In biomechanical terms and biological terms, what is it this? It is that you have an idea of the task, an idea of how to solve this task. Can be really good, can be limited. And sometimes it's a bit limited. The problem with the dysfunctional system is that first, it has a lot of reflexes acting into. Because since it's not the ideal function, the system perceives the alert of the failure nearly all the time, and is going to give you a lot of alarm signals. For a dysfunctional system, they are just signals, they are just perceptions. They don't have the taste anymore of the alarm, and the dysfunctional system takes them as the normal, as the usual. And what we'd seen last time is that those reflexes are going to activate directly by the tension into the ligaments, or some state of tension and of load or speed. That is also a great, huge topic. into some muscles and you don't perceive that you're activating, you have the effects of disactivation. And since the system is dysfunctional, usually what is going to be activated is not the ideal and the functional one, and the system has to correct again, because it arrives some too much load, too much stiffness, too much speed, somewhere inappropriate, and to protect itself, the system is going to activate other things. When it is really dysfunctional and you really want to obtain things, and you put, as Gray Cook says, weight on the top of dysfunction, you're going to need to do what? Not to crush yourself and to try to force the results into what you want. You will put voluntary activations of parts that has nothing to do, and again is what we call co-contraction. That is, you activate what usually should be activated by the brain and the ligaments by themselves. And it is not a favorable thing, because while the co-activation has all the system in mind and it reacts into all the system as a whole, and as a whole balancing itself, remember that we go by negative feedbacks, not positive. So yet the system is counterintuitive. Negative feedbacks means you activate what takes away the too much or too little of your balance. So when we say agonist and then you have the co-activation of the antagonist, you are controlling the movement as a whole into the system, and it's very well balanced when it's functional, by the co-activation and the quality of this co-activation into the opposite, meaning the antagonist. You don't have a system that says, okay, slow down here. Yeah, no, you co-activate. And everything that we do functionally, we do with those co-activations. And second step, for the high-skilled activities, knowledge, traditional knowledge, for violin, for piano, for singing, for some sports, for dance. Now functionally, Michael Boyle, Gray Cook, Guy, Brett Contreras, etc., they went into the same, but with more specific knowledge of biology and movement. We make references on what? In rehab, what you have to do on the direct, meaning on the intuitive part that you can control. But the true knowledge and the true artistry, we know perfectly that arrives when you relate to the co-activated system. And it's there that you put the nuances on which you get being really skilled and doing something very interesting. If the system is dysfunctional, all this second part you don't get access to. That's a problem. So we have to get functional. To get functional, we have now some strategies. I have for voice, some have for breathing, I have for breathing too, I have for some other movements, others have for the mobility of the, and how can I say, health of the joints, as Nivot Osvetos guys, a lot of practice as Michael Boyle. And we do what? We give prescriptions of how to create conditions so that the system can start training into a functional setting. And this is quite objective. We don't agree on every nuance, but the baseline starts being quite the same for all of us. When we have to work with the individual that has a dysfunctional system, what happens very often, and that was the point I wanted to do today, is that this individual doesn't understand where is the dysfunction and where is the function. But for that we have practices of training that in the time will correct the basics, the most important ones, and all that has some relevance. We don't mind to get exactly to ideal. We want to get good enough with some basics that are more important. The perceptions of the singer will do something pretty amazing. They will mostly disappear. And I smile. And some of you will have, no, this cannot be possibly a good thing. How can I sing if I don't have perceptions? I'll let you hear an example. Trovo un suono. Esatto. Vista. So, this singer arrived to me with his voice. You see, 7 weeks, quite changed. Perfect? No, of course. Good enough. Oh my God, quite amazing. Quite unusual also in those timing. I was very happy. I was very confident. I was starting being absolutely relaxed that, okay, she's responding so well. She was anxious. She was in doubt. She was really anxious. She was a bit lost. So I said, okay. She was under medical control, of course, because I do that only under medical control and with the medical okay, of course. And I told her, okay, go back to the laryngologist. Go see your vocal folds. Go control the instrument. She came back. A smile as I've seen few times in my life. A relaxation, amazing. You see there the certificate's objective. And the thing is, some of you who are experts will hear that it's not that the voice is there, that it has changed completely. Voice production. She's not her anymore. No, we came out from dysfunction. And those results are because she started being functional in quite little time. Not perfect, not completely trained. We had to go on for longer period, but at the same time, you know, it was completely a different thing. And so we started a good adaptation. She has an international career. She teaches in conservatory, etc., etc., etc. And that's the nice side of my work. It's a wow. It's a finally. But for her, why the doubts? Why the anxiety? I'll make an example that perhaps you will understand better. If you have a angina pectoris, that is that pain that you have in the chest, or you have a heart that is not really working properly, you can have chest pain. When you walk, you are going to feel something. If it's not only pain, you are going to feel a lot of things. Those things will disappear if the problem is solved. And you will get back, as most people, not having even the impression of having a heart or having vessels. And when you train, and you train correctly, when the cardiovascular system will improve, you will feel what? The performance. The easiness into the performance. the capacity of asking yourself a different performance, and the performance appear. But the more you're well trained, the less you're going to feel the function by itself. You're going to have other kind of perceptions. So the thing is that when you have a dysfunctional system, or you have a limited system, or you have a system that is not well mapped into the true movement that you're going to do, you're going to act with reflexes, creating a lot of huge perceptions that you think are a reference. And they are clearly the signal that the system is not working. And this is something that is a wall into your comprehension, and only the natural gifted voices know perfectly what I'm talking about, or those that has become so functional and so high skilled level to get into that quite often or sometimes. And they say it's when it's coming perfectly amazing, cannot be luck, cannot be just happens, because it happens too often, and it is too perfect, the result, and it is so close to a level of artistry that it is artistry. Before we didn't know how to explain that. I'm trying. Because it enters the realm of what your body doesn't need to tell you and to confirm you that is well functioning. It has to tell you when it is not functioning. As the bowel. You don't feel your gut when your gut is really happy. It disappears. But you feel well. You feel a sort of happiness, and you feel the function functioning properly, and you have all the effects of the function functioning properly. It's a good news that you have those doubts. It's a good news that they are disappearing. And while they disappear, they let space to start feeling what really are the perceptions. When the system is dysfunctional, it will take a little time to get to functional and then to get trained. And you will come into the perceptions of the high skills that you read in the books, the very good ones, those things that looks a little absurd. No, they're not absurd. That is that we are using in a not intuitive, and refined and sophisticated way our system, as I will say in phase 2 next week. And there you have those kind of perceptions, but you have to take a little time, the time that the tissues correct themselves and the ligaments correct themselves, and then you will start having other perceptions. Have a good week. Another recap.
Oh.